right, let's talk about Airbnb and the 5 most critical things to know if you plan on becoming an Airbnb owner. Now, this is coming from somebody who's owned an Airbnb for about 2.5 years and is projected to make $77,000 in revenue in the coming year from my Airbnb. And I have about a 4.9 stars, something around there. The number one thing is compliance with your state. Some people decide to start an Airbnb under the table and try to get around the state restrictions, but you're running the risk of a huge fine and potentially even prison time. So do the research on your state in particular, see what permits are required for short-term rentals, and see what the requirements are. So sometimes they're going to require that you live on site for a certain amount of time before you move out and make it a full Airbnb, because they're trying to avoid people just buying property, opening Airbnbs, and leaving. Some states require you to notify your neighbors. So in Tennessee, we had to write a letter to all of our neighbors, front, back, side, and mail them with tracking and like a receipt to prove that we had mailed out those letters, notifying them that we were opening an Airbnb. So again, requirements and permits are going to vary by state. Make sure you look that up. The second thing is convenience and decor. So having a coffee machine is really big. Keurig is probably the easiest to use. We have a French press, which some people don't know how to use, even though we've left an instructions manual. So the best option there is just going to be to buy a Keurig or some type of basic coffee machine. Having snacks and beverages just elevates the experience. It could really just be as simple as water bottles, seltzers, non-alcoholic, of course, since you don't know the age of your guests, and just buying like snacks in bulk at Costco. Make your Airbnb feel homey. Have like a theme to it. So like, for example, our Airbnb is Nashville based. We have these guitars up on the wall. We're going to be using some kind of rustic farmhouse decor to really just hit the nail on the head with that theme. Plants are a really good way to make it feel homey as well. And something that I think a lot of people don't think about is the outside of your house and the lighting when it's dark and when it's nighttime. So you don't want to be caught in a situation where you're liable for somebody falling and breaking their ankle because it was too dark outside when they were trying to get into your house. So buying like floodlights and kind of automatic lights that turn on with motion is really important. So like we have a side entrance where people go through the back to enter the Airbnb, and we have that really well lit with fairy lights as well as a floodlight. The third critical thing to think about is cleaning. So I highly recommend that at least for the first like 6 months, you do the cleaning on your own, because that way you have control over how clean it is, what that final end product is going to look like, and it gives you a better sense of what type of cleaning, what extent is really required if you decide to hire a cleaning company in the future. I will say hiring a cleaning company significantly eats into your profits, because that's a huge fee, anywhere from $100 to $200 per session. So depending on how much you're charging per night for the Airbnb, it can really not be worth it. So in our case, for the last 2.5 years, we have been doing the cleaning completely on our own. And the way we have it set up is that if somebody checks out at 11 a.m., somebody cannot check in until the following day at 2 p.m. That way we're not stuck having to clean the Airbnb within a 3-hour period in between 11 and 2. That's 3 hours, right? Oh, 1, 2, yeah. Because we tried that and it was just a nightmare. So if you take on the cleaning yourself, you can guarantee that the house is going to be spotless, so that you can rack up those 5-star reviews towards the very beginning of opening your Airbnb. And then later, if you want to invest in a cleaning company as you start to increase your prices, that's great, but you already have that foundation of 5-star reviews. The fourth thing is responsiveness and rejections. So when it comes to somebody inquiring about staying at your Airbnb, respond quickly. Make sure you have notifications on. If you take too long to respond, the Airbnb algorithm is going to push your listing down and down on the list of search results. So that is bad because you're not going to be on, the top 3 pages, which is usually where people are looking first when they're finding a space. And Airbnb wants to make sure that they're promoting accounts that are providing a positive consumer experience. Part of that is quick responses. Rejections. What I mean by that is when somebody reaches out to book your space and you say, sorry, we're not available. Make sure that in advance, if you're blocking off the space and you have family or friends coming and you don't want any Airbnb guests for a specific duration of time, make sure that you go into the app and block those dates off ahead of time. Because if you kind of get to this point where somebody's inquiring and you're rejecting their request, that again is going to play into the algorithm. And the more you do that, the more your listing gets pushed down on the list of search results. Same thing with cancellations. If somebody has your space booked and for whatever reason you need to cancel on them, that also plays into account in the algorithm. So make sure you're not doing that. The 5th most important thing is photography. Airbnb has this service where you can hire a photographer directly through them that can come out and take professional pictures of your space to post on your listing. This is the only option in my opinion, because taking photos on your iPhone is just not the vibe. It's not the same. It's not going to look as nice as it could look. So just invest in that few $100s to get professional photos taken. And yeah, those are 5 key lessons that I've learned over the past 2.5 years of owning an Airbnb. If you guys want to hear more about any of these or have any particular questions about Airbnb ownership, feel free to shoot a comment down below and I'll be more than happy to do like a Q&A or second part to this video. If you have the capital to buy a house and Airbnb it, do it, because you're doing yourself a disservice and losing out on a lot of money if you don't give it a chance, especially if you're in a location that is highly coveted by tourists. For example, Nashville, where I am located, we have people coming in and out constantly. We're always booked, except for like December through February can get a little slower, where we're not booked out every single day, but for the most part, we're booked and it pretty much covers most of our mortgage. An alternative option is Airbnb arbitrage, and that is instead of buying a property, it's actually renting out a property and Airbnb-ing it. Of course, you have to get approval and make sure it's in writing in a contract with the landlord or the property management company for that space, because not every property management company or landlord allows you to rent an Airbnb. But a lot of them will allow you to do that. So just make sure you're talking to them, being transparent, open, and honest. You're not lying and trying to get around anything, because again, fines and prison. And that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoy this little rundown of key things to think about when you're starting an Airbnb in the background of this day in the life. And I will see you guys in the next video.